You ever wake up, step outside your own house, and realize you're smack dab in the middle of a hostage situation, and the hostage is your entire livelihood? Because that's how my morning started the day. 3 diesel monsters, worth more than my car and louder than my ex-wife on alimony day, blocked my garage so tight the door wouldn't even close. The stink of diesel mixed with cheap perfume so thick you could taste it. All my tools, $18,000 worth, trapped inside, and out front stands Karen Whitfield, queen of the HOA, waving her clipboard around like it's the Constitution. She's got this smirk, you know the type, like she just caught you cheating at Monopoly and she's about to ban you from family game night for life. She looks at me, all sugary poison. Garage. Oops. Jammed. Maybe next time you'll obey the landscaping rules. Then she turns on her heel, thinking she's just scored the winning touchdown. Big mistake. I smile right back, stroll over, drop the garage door, and click, lock from the inside. The look on her face goes from smug to, oh crap, in record time. She starts pounding on the door, shrieking like I just ran over her Lexus. See, Karen prides herself on knowing every rule in the book, HOA, property law, even the wiring in my own garage door. But there's this one little detail she never bothered to look up. One small twist about illegal parking that's going to have her begging me to open up. Before the sheriff shows. What would you do if a Karen hijacked your garage and laughed about it? Drop your state below, because what happens next is just chef's kiss. But hang on, let me back up 6 months and tell you how I ended up here, on the business end of a landscaping war. And why that little moment with the garage door was the sweetest revenge I've ever tasted. Name's Calvin Smith, 42, divorced, electrician by trade. And, until recently, a firm believer that fresh start was more than a real estate slogan. After my marriage blew up, I wanted a quiet place to get my bearings back, somewhere close to my teenage daughter Riley for our weekends together. Pinewood Estates looked ideal. Streets lined with aging maples, neighbors who minded their own business, 1970s ranches, and old folks in tracksuits. The garage was what sold me. Room enough for my van, every tool, and a corner for Riley and me to tinker. That garage became my sanctuary. The smell of sawdust, the tang of metal, all of it was better therapy than any shrink I'd ever met. Riley loved it too. She learned about voltage meters, how to organize a toolbox, the satisfying click of socket sets dropping into their foam. Not exactly Hallmark Channel, but it was our thing, and for a while, life almost made sense. Pinewood Estates had its quirks. Mainly, the HOA, which had been around 15 years, back when tech companies started driving up the housing market. The dues were $85 a month, which seemed fair for neighborhood upkeep. But as new money moved in, pressure to modernize grew. Suddenly, folks like me were living next to tech bros with lawns straight out of golf catalogs. But let's get to the main character of our little drama, Karen Whitfield. 60, retired insurance adjuster, personality of a tax audit. Lives in the biggest house on Maple Street, where the grass is so green and straight you'd think she ironed it. Drives a white Lexus, parks it dead center in the driveway. She's been HOA president 6 years running and treats the role like she's running for suburban dictator. To Karen, the rules aren't just rules, they're weapons. And, apparently, divorced electricians with a fondness for wildflowers made her list. It started innocent enough. I ripped up my thirsty front lawn and planted California poppies and lupins. Nothing crazy, just native wildflowers to save water and help the bees. Riley would pick flowers for her room, bees humming in the morning, me drinking coffee on the steps, feeling, I don't know, almost at peace. One weekend, I'm enjoying the scene when there's a thunk at the door. Violation notice, on thick paper with a gold seal and more legalese than my divorce decree. Non-conforming landscaping disrupts neighborhood aesthetic harmony. I've got 10 days to install appropriate turf grass, or it's $50 a day, every day, for flowers. That's save water. I spent that night elbows deep in HOA bylaws, reading on my laptop until my eyes bled. You want to guess what I found? No ban on native plants. In fact, the founding document encouraged water-saving, eco-friendly landscaping. But Karen had her own interpretation of aesthetic harmony, which apparently meant everyone's yard should look like the 18th hole at Augusta. Next morning, I call the HOA office. Karen answers, voice like a freezer door slamming shut. Mr. Smith, The board has determined your landscaping choice is inappropriate for our community standards. I ask which bylaw. She stutters, then says, the general aesthetic provision. I ask to see that in writing. Maybe you'd be more comfortable in a different neighborhood, she says, and hangs up. That's when I realized this wasn't about plants. It was about Karen deciding who belongs and who doesn't. Things got interesting fast. Next day, I'm loading my van when I see her, across the street, camera in hand, snapping photos like she's gathering evidence for a war crimes tribunal, just ensuring community compliance. She calls, like she's the neighborhood cop. Every day, same routine. Sometimes she brings Mrs. Henderson, her 70-something sidekick, who follows Karen around, nodding like a bobblehead. Even Riley started noticing. Why does that lady's perfume smell like poison? She asked. I called it the mean lady's stink cloud. It didn't stop at photos, either. Karen started harping about my work van. Commercial vehicles are prohibited overnight, she'd announce, pointing at my plain old Ford Transit like it was a dump truck full of dead bodies. But I've done enough wiring for lawyers to know how to document. So I installed a couple security cams and started my own photo project. Turns out, Mrs. Garcia had roses and lavender instead of grass. The Patels rocked a yard full of succulents. And Mrs. Henderson, Karen's own buddy, had decorative shrubs instead of turf. Every day, I'd click, 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 building a file thicker than Karen's perfume. Then came the bombshell. Karen escalated to county code enforcement, claiming I was running an unlicensed business out of my garage. One morning, I come home and find a county inspector poking around, clipboard in hand, more serious than a judge. Someone reported illegal commercial activity, he says, looking uncomfortable. My stomach drops. If Karen got my contractor license suspended, I'd lose everything. So I show the inspector my permits, my registration, the whole 9 yards. He spends 20 minutes inspecting, asking questions, then finally closes his clipboard and shakes his head. Honestly, Mr. Smith, you're the cleanest operation I've seen. Between you and me, whoever keeps calling about you. This is their 4th complaint this week. Seems like a personal vendetta. I had her. Official documentation, harassment, not code violations. But that evening, Riley asks, Dad, are we in trouble? That lady keeps taking pictures. That's when the game changed. This wasn't about flowers. It was about protecting my daughter from a bully. Karen wasn't just after my wildflowers. She wanted me out. And if I didn't fight back, she'd just keep turning the screws. Next move, she brings in the big guns. Literally. 2 weeks after the inspector visit, I wake up to the rumble of diesel engines. I step outside, massive dump truck parked out front, engine idling like a dare. Behind it, a bobcat on a trailer. Karen's out there, clipboard waving, explaining this is all for temporary equipment storage, HOA maintenance. Her nephew's company got the contract, of course. As more equipment arrives, a mower trailer, a wood chipper big enough to eat a tree. The noise starts at 6 and runs till dark. Diesel fumes fill the street. Mrs. Rodriguez, 2 doors down, can't breathe. Mr. Thompson, retired mechanic, points out that a fire truck couldn't get through if someone had a heart attack. That's when I realize Karen's not just targeting me now. She's making everyone miserable, hoping they'll turn on me. So I start talking to my neighbors. Mrs. Rodriguez has been fined for having the wrong color mailbox. Mr. Thompson's being hassled over his fence stain. 8 families gather at the Rodriguez Cafe downtown. We swap Karen horror stories over bitter coffee and plastic booths. Next day, everyone at that meeting gets a violation notice. Mrs. Rodriguez for excessive rose bushes she's had for 15 years. Thompson for fence color. My wildflowers, suddenly, are a safety hazard. Then Karen really loses it. Has Mrs. Rodriguez's Honda Civic towed from her driveway. Why? Because it has a cleaning business decal the size of a postage stamp. Turns out, her nephew runs the towing company, too. Mrs. Rodriguez breaks down in tears on her steps. 20 years in this neighborhood, and now she's a target. That's when it hits me. This is about more than fines or flowers. It's about driving out anyone who doesn't fit Karen's vision. But here's the twist. Karen gets greedy. She keeps moving the equipment closer, eventually blocking my garage entirely. She even has her nephew's crew, accidentally, cut the power to my garage door, so I can't even open it manually. My $18,000 in tools, trapped. A medical complex is waiting on me for a big security job, and I can't get my stuff. I'm about to lose 12 grand and my reputation. That night, I hit the law books again. Turns out blocking access to someone's property intentionally is both a civil and criminal violation. But I need proof. Next morning, I call Rish Patel, one of the quieter HOA board members. He confides in me. Karen's been making decisions without board approval, forging meeting minutes, handing contracts to her nephew without bidding. He's got the paperwork. Worse, she's been hiding a lot more. Patel's research and my buddy Jake, who recently did electrical work on Karen's house, turn up something big. Karen's running an illegal rental out of her garage. Unpermitted conversion, not paying taxes. The woman who obsesses over mailbox colors is cheating the county out of thousands. Armed with Patel's docs, we get serious. Turns out, all it takes to remove the board president is a majority petition, 67 signatures. And with Karen's fraud, embezzlement, and illegal rental, we've got enough to bury her. But Karen fights back. She hands out intimidation letters, threatens everyone with property value hits and mortgage reviews. Even brings in lawyers to file restraining orders against me for harassment. Neighbors are scared, but angry. We organize anyway, careful, strategic. Mrs. Henderson, the sidekick, eventually confesses Karen threatened her into spying on us. Sarah Thompson, Thompson's daughter and a reporter, collects confessions from bribed neighbors and starts prepping an exposé for the local paper. Every dirty trick Karen pulls backfires. Instead of dividing us, she unites us. By Friday, the restraining order expires. The county inspector, sheriff, and half the neighborhood show up on my street, cameras rolling. Karen, thinking she's about to win, starts her speech about authority. That's when I call the sheriff over. These trucks are blocking my property. The sheriff nods, 30 minutes to move them or they're gone. Then, the inspector drops the bomb about Karen's illegal rental and missing taxes. The crowd's loving it. I walk over, hit my garage remote. The door was open, tools gleaming. You never had the power you thought you did, Karen. I say, just loud enough for the whole block. Patel presents the petition, over 70 signatures. Sarah asks Karen about the embezzled funds on camera. Karen loses it, starts screaming about conspiracies. The sheriff gently, but firmly, escorts her off the property. The trucks get towed. The crowd cheers. For the first time in weeks, there's quiet. 6 months later, Pinewood Estates is transformed. The new HOA is transparent, contracts are fairly bid, and there's a community garden where Karen's nephew used to park his junk. My garage is now the neighborhood workshop. Riley and I run electrical safety classes. The wildflowers are everywhere, the bees are back, and the new family in Karen's house turned her illegal rental into an art studio. Mrs. Rodriguez's cleaning business is booming. Sarah's reporting won a state award, and HOA oversight laws are changing across the county. Karen paid 43 grand in back taxes and fines before slinking off to Arizona, where, rumor has it, the HOA doesn't let her touch a thing. But you know what's really changed? People talk. Neighbors help each other. The sense of community, real, noisy, imperfect community, is alive. Riley walks new families around, showing them how things work here, one conversation at a time. Democracy in action, powered by people, not one petty tyrant. That's the biggest win of all. So, yeah, locking Karen out of her own trap was satisfying. Watching her authority dissolve in one afternoon, even more so. But the best revenge wasn't just exposing her. It was what we built after she was gone. What would you do if someone like Karen tried to run your life? Where's the line between following rules and fighting back? Drop your most ridiculous HOA story, or your thoughts about justice, down below. Because in the end, power only works when we let it. And sometimes, the only way to fix the wiring is to flip the whole dam breaker.